So we're a general engineering contractor, but we specialize in demolition and earthwork in Southern California. And we do a lot of public works projects, primarily schools, a lot of water district projects, streets, but we're pretty much 100% public works. So I went to school for business. I have a degree in business, and I worked in the construction industry for about 15 years, both on the accounting side, the project management side, and just getting to know construction and how companies run. And it's always been a dream of mine to run my own company. And finally, I just decided to go for it and do it, and that's where we are now. So it took me a while to get to the point where I wanted to invest the money into putting the GPS on the dozers, because previous experiences, the guys were always complaining that there were issues with the models, and the operators were never on board. It didn't feel like with grading with GPS models, and I felt like we were always fighting the technology. So when they kept suggesting that we lace up our dozer, it took me a while to really get on board with it, because I didn't feel like it had historically been successful or beneficial. It felt like there was just a lot of struggle to make it function, and half the time it felt like the guys didn't want to use it because they were always talking about spikes and challenges of getting the model to function. But after Jason's team came and worked with us and saw the system and comfortable with it, it made sense, and we have been very successful at getting our models to work with our Leica system, and the guys love it. And our D6, I don't think it's been down a day since we bought it. It's on all our jobs, constantly moving, and I think it's the best purchase we've made. And to have the guys on board with the system and not fighting it, it's been nice.
As an operations person, I wanted to make sure that in the field we have simple processes and simple procedures to implement all this technology, and Leica gives us the ability to do that.
Prior to having Leica and DirtPrep, we were struggling, that we would have downtime. Sometimes we never got back up for the day and we would have to send everybody home, but being union, there's a lot of costs to that. You have minimum times you have to pay the guys. If we're importing or exporting, you have minimums on the trucks. I mean, I've had a job shut down before that it was a $21,000 bill for shutting down the job in the middle of the day. Fortunately, it wasn't our bill to cover, but there are huge cost impacts. So having DirtPrep there to support us and keep us running has been a huge factor.
When we started looking at new GPS systems, I wanted to really look into all the different manufacturers, and one unique thing happened, and the reason I was drawn to Leica was that I was amazed at how the user interface was. It was super simple to use, and so the thing about technology is if you don't use things on a daily basis, and you're somebody who maybe jumps on a rover system once a week or once a month, it's really difficult to remember all the steps that you need to take to use that system. With the other brands, it's something that you have to use all the time. It's there's a lot of file structures, a lot of complicated things that you have to know. But when I started using Leica, it was one file. It was the computer screen was very easy to use. It was something I could recognize, that I could always come back to it a week later, a month later, and there wasn't such a learning curve to get back to it.
Before, if I would talk to somebody about, do you know how to run GPS systems? They're like, well, we've dabbled in it. We kind of understand how it works, but nobody ever really was like, yes, we are great at GPS technology. And I feel like with the Leica system, people are confident and find it very easy to get in the system and use it and feel confident that they are good at it, and that gives me confidence that I'm getting accurate information from my field guys, so that way when I'm pricing a change order, I know that I have an accurate stockpile quantity to price to a customer or whatever the case might be. So I do feel like there's a much higher level of confidence when they're using the Leica system than what I was getting before when I was trying to get data from them to properly manage jobs, go after change orders. So I definitely like the feeling that I get of confidence that we are getting accurate data. And so we do specialize in very complex grading work. So the technology allows us to do a lot of projects that other people don't want to deal with. Like for the Doolin Hills project that we just completed in San Diego, we were the only bidder that showed up to do it because nobody wanted to touch it because it was so steep and so technical. So sometimes we're the only bidder on a job because we have the technology that allows us to do the jobs. Well, our Contreras project was also a really nice example of how technology made us better. We did have it was a shotcrete wall, and we did the grading for it, and it was 17 foot, and because it had geogrid in it, it was pretty much a vertical, had 15% slope on it, and to be able to grade the top of the slope 17 foot up and get it accurate, we did have to put the GPS, they welded it onto the bucket so that way we could cut perfectly. And the struggle on that job was that if we overcut it or undercut it, then there were huge cost impacts of it. If you overcut it, then it's going to take more concrete to do the wall, and then we would get a massive back charge. And obviously if you undercut it, you have to come back and do it again. So it had to be right, and it was very technical. The slope was so steep that the surveyors couldn't get on top to put stakes in there just because there was really no access to the top of it. So we had a lift at the bottom where our guys could kind of go up there, paint it a little bit, but then we had the Leica system attached to the bucket, and we were able to use the technology to cut the slope, and I don't know how we would have cut the slope without. As we're growing our fleet, it has been very convenient to have the ability to move the system between the equipment. Between our D6 and our skip loader, we can finish any job. We can finish a street. We finished the football field with the skip loader to a 200 tolerance. So it has replaced our need to get a blade on jobs. So it's been great. Not to say that there aren't times when we would still need a blade, but it has definitely made us more, independent and being able to rely more on our equipment. But our equipment's also more multi-purpose than a blade, because if the skip loader isn't finished grading a street, we can use it for many other purposes. So it's definitely, for us, because we do such a variety of grading work, it's a very useful setup that we have. We just bought a total station and put it out on one of our jobs that has solar panel coverings over where we're working, so it's allowed us to grade very accurately with limited satellite coverage there. And that was what we used when we got our 200s tolerance on the football field. The total station has the benefit of working up against buildings where the GPS might not work as well. So if we're doing the work that has a 200s tolerance, and it is becoming more common in Southern California to have these artificial turf fields. So if we want to be able to compete in that market, we have to have the total station capabilities. For me personally, as a business owner, having the GPS system work as well and as seamlessly as it does is a huge deal, because for us, there's huge schedule constraints and deadlines that we have to meet, and not meeting those deadlines are associated with liquidated damages. And you never want to get liquidated damages because it kind of ruins your credit to bid on future projects. So it's not necessarily making more money on the jobs, but it's also hitting the schedules because it has a huge impact, because we have to pre-qualify for jobs. So if we're not hitting schedules, we're not going to qualify to bid on the next job. And I feel like with the Leica technology, we don't have downtime, and we're much more successful at hitting schedules because it runs really smoothly.